Our southern weather is unpredictable.
We know you've seen a thing or two.
Like heavy rainstorms,
extreme heat, and flying debris.
Your New South windows are custom built for your home and designed for extreme conditions.
That's why you need New South by your side.
enjoy comfort,
Safety and security.
We install peace of mind with our lifetime guarantee. Superior windows, factory direct.
New South proud.
Buy more, save more. Volume discounts on 4 or more windows.
Time, weather, and always.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Chief Meteorologist Denis Phillips. Heat's still the hot topic of weather conversation, right? Just smashed the previous record for rainfall in Tampa. Still a very nice day. We've got some clouds out there, even a couple of sprinkles as another front rolls through the area. Most of us wake up to sunshine and then very warm temperatures in the afternoon. Our temperatures, they're going up and they're staying up. Really nice forecast, especially if you're planning on going to the beach or the pool. Rain chances very slim. It's another beautiful day in store. It's going to bring us a very high chance of storms. Isolated showers across the area. Mother Nature likes to remind us that it isn't set by a calendar. We are always on it for you, just in case things begin to pop.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Denis Phillips Live.
Sponsored by New South Window Solutions. Made in Florida for Florida homes by Florida workers.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Tuesday night edition of Denis Phillips Live. How y'all been? We are coming up on the 29th anniversary of my worst forecast that I ever made working in the Bay Area. It wasn't even really that terrible of a forecast. It was just I played it totally wrong. 29 years ago on Halloween night, it was about the 5 o'clock newscast, I think. No, actually, you know what? I guess I was probably doing the morning show because I did the mornings for the first 6 or 7 years here. So I was on the morning show. It was Halloween, and I guaranteed it would not rain for the trick-or-treaters. I used the word guarantee. Blew up in my face. I still have nightmares over this. It still has scarred me emotionally. It's true, because I don't like getting it wrong. And when something happens like that, especially on a big night like that, oh man. And this was before emails, right? I mean, think about it, 94, 95, I guess. So, yeah, the phone's lit up in the assignment desk, you know, justifiably. You know, I used that word. And interestingly enough, it was the exact same pattern that we have out there right now. Oh, I remember it well. Easterly wind, right? And that was not my first year in Florida. I had lived in Gainesville for 3 years. But normally with an easterly wind, you're like, nah, we're good. But as will be the case tomorrow and again on Thursday, you get a strong enough easterly wind, it does sometimes allow showers to come in from the East Coast and make their way across. They did, and it wasn't a lot of rain. I mean, there were a handful of showers, but it rained over the populated areas like Tampa, Clearwater, Carrollwood. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Just a nightmare. So I will not be making that same mistake again. How are you guys doing? We're going to talk tropics because the GFS is up to its usual nonsense again. So you guys know I've been buddies with Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page for a long time. Mike was part of our original chat group back 12, 13 years ago. And, you know, Mike has been accused from time to time of being a little overzealous sometimes and showing some models. I mean, you guys, Mike knows this. We joke about it a lot. He jokes about it. In fact, I think he posted something about it on my page just a couple of minutes ago. So anyway, when I saw the GFS tonight, I took a screenshot of it and I texted Mike. I'm like, dude, look what's going on. And he's like, I gotta post it, which I don't think he has. But anyway, so we'll talk about that. To me, it seems extremely suspect and very doubtful, but we'll get into it. Again, for trick-or-treaters, there is the chance of a couple of showers. Gary, you just hit the nail on the head. He guarantees it might rain on Halloween. Well, that is a valid forecast. Cynthia, thank you very much. Stars proceeds go toward Children's Miracle Network, so that was very kind of you. So who do we have here? We've got a lot of Amy in Pinellas Park. We've got John in Oldsmar, David in St. Pete, Pamela in Auburndale, so we're kind of peppering the entire Bay Area. St. Pete with Kelly, Sefner's in the house with Susan, Gary in Winter Haven, Hudson, the Hudson Desert. Man, Susan, you're right about that. We've had this strong easterly flow now for days. We're going to have it for the next 5 days. The old expression, better late than never, not this, because we needed this in the summer. You get this kind of setup in the summer, we get crushed with rain every day. But it's no longer the rainy season, so we're not going to get all the rain with an easterly flow like we've got out there right now. Terry, how you doing? We have got Kim in Tampa. Nice to see you, Kim. We've got Maya in Ruskin. Good to see you, Maya. We have Angela. We have got Eric. How are you doing, Eric? Wiki Watch is in the house with Carrie. Keisha. Keisha has a running gag with her guy about snuggle alerts. I can't remember her man's name, but he always shares the snuggle alerts and is like, well, Keisha, look. And she's like, Dennis, enough. Knock off the snuggle alerts. I'm tired. I don't have time for snuggle alerts. So, Keisha, you are good until the middle of next week. However, Keisha, I would like to show you that because you asked, we now have snuggle alert stuff on our Etsy page. Again, proceeds benefit Children's Miracle Network and lots of other local charities. So there is a snuggle alert. And we also have, this one's kind of cute with a little cloud on them, snuggle alert. My wife made all these, so they're pretty sweet. And then we've got the Rule Number 7 dog bandanas. Oh, we've got models. We'll hold off on that one. So anyway, those are on our Etsy page. And we do have a Christmas ornament that we've asked by popular demand as well, because you guys know my obsession with Christmas stuff. There's a green one, there's a Knowles one, and that definitely is garnet and gold, it looks like. And we've got all our Rule Number 7 stuff. These are the perfect holiday gift. Perfect holiday gift. Number 7, and again, with every single purchase, the donation is made to the Children's Miracle Network and other local charities. So there you go. All right, now, let's get back to what we're talking about here. We do have, you remember it very well. So Tracy remembers very well my busted forecast 29 years ago. And the fact that 29 years ago, and I still can't get over it. Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. How you doing, Cynthia? Good to see you. I do, Gary. I'm scarred emotionally from that. I'm not going to lie. I don't like being wrong, and I don't make a habit of it. At least I try not to. And that was just a bad one. So Kathy seems to recall the incident. The wedding cake. No, it was not called a Monty. It was actually Anna Maria came up with the name. It's a long name. I can't remember. But yeah, my son got married last week, and they had one of those big wedding things that you can take pieces off, break pieces off. And I showed the picture of it, but I couldn't remember the name. I still can't. Ian, no, Cindy. Incorrect. Ian was not a busted forecast, not even close. That's wrong. Ian, I was very happy with the way the forecast played, which is why we kept saying Rule Number 7, don't freak out in our area, because we were okay. Fort Myers, that's another story, right? Checking in from Holiday, Linda, how you doing? Adam. So anyway, we got lots of folks here. Thank you again, April, very kind. So here we go. We're going to go through the forecast, and we're going to talk tropics because I'll just go ahead and show you. Look, this is a weather chat, right? So we certainly can talk about what's going on, things that may or may not happen. Lisa in Longwood, how you doing? No, Yvonne, not always, but I'd like to say more often than not. I would like to say that. April freaked out in Orlando. Yeah, Orlando got some rain, right? So anyway, here's a look at this area. All right, now this is a map that we've shown you pretty frequently, all right? I want to show you what this tells us. This is November 1 to November 7 on the top, and November 8th to November 14th on the bottom. This is from the Climate Prediction Center, and this is kind of a broad brush view of what they're thinking in terms of the tropics. Now, if you look at the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, they're the first week and they're in the second week, okay? What this tells us, and this is something where you can really use your experience. Look, I am not like locked in on models, because look, models are mathematical formulas. You just can't show models over and over again, and you got to use your knowledge and your experience at some point in time, because if we're just going to show models, then what's the point of having a meteorologist at all, right? You're just, oh, here's the Euro, here's the Canadian, here's the Japanese model. You got to have something that goes along with just showing models, and that is the experience that goes along with it, right? So when you look at this map, this is something that is very telling, all right? I'm going to take it full. And what this is showing us is that the Climate Prediction Center believes that there will be gradual lowering of pressure in the northern Caribbean for the first 2 weeks of November, all right? So let's take a little closer look at that. For the first week, from November 1st to November 7th, what we see is the potential of some development anywhere from the Central Caribbean, but the dark red color, the solid red, is greater than 40% chance of development. Now, it could be in the Western Caribbean, it could be in the Eastern Pacific, right? So wherever this lowering of pressures would occur, you would say, all right, that's where there could be some development. But it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to see this. It's just something we look for, lowering of pressures. Well, the second week, you also see it, although you don't have the red solid area, which is the higher probability of development. You have the red hatched, which is greater than 20% chance of development. But it is still in the same area, all right? And that is important to note. It is still in the entire Caribbean. Now, historically, in an El Nino year, the Caribbean gets really shut down, all right? The Caribbean, and it has been, the entire hurricane season, the Caribbean has been shut down. All of the storms have been in the tropical Atlantic, staying north of the islands and going into the Atlantic, around the Bermuda High, right? And that's the way it normally plays out when you have an El Nino. But it isn't always. There can be some areas that sneak in, right? So what does that tell us? All right. So first of all, the GFS is trying to develop down the road, which it always does, which we've told you this 11 billion times. It's a bunch of nonsense when you look at the GFS 2 weeks out. But we're already seeing the Climate Prediction Center predicting lowering of pressures in the Caribbean for those 2 week stretches, right? So when you look at this, this is a couple of weeks down. Now, what does this show us? Okay, the reason this appears less likely to me, this is 264 days out. This is like 12 days out, 13 days out. This is bringing a system from the Eastern Caribbean and slowly develops it through the Caribbean, okay? As opposed to something that develops in the Northern Caribbean. Tomorrow marks the 102nd anniversary of the last major hurricane to hit the Bay Area directly. Tomorrow's the day. 102 years ago, we had a Cat 4 hurricane barrel into Tarpon Springs. 102 years ago. That was the last time a major hurricane hit the Bay Area directly. 102 years ago. So look, We've been saying this for years. There are folks who are saying that we've been lucky. Absolutely, we've been lucky. There are folks saying that the Indian burial grounds and St. Nicholas has helped us out. Hey, if it works, it works. But the reality of it is the Bay Area is less likely to see a direct landfall hurricane than the Panhandle and then South Florida. All you got to do is look at the numbers, and it makes perfect sense, right? It makes perfect sense because when you have a storm, our worst case scenario is a storm coming in from the Caribbean, right? Right, it is. Coming in from the south, missing Cuba to the right, missing the Yucatan to the left, coming up, feeling a trough, and hooking right. That is exactly what happened 102 years ago tomorrow. It cut Caladesi. It actually cut the island in half. It was Hog Island. Cut it in half. So, and that's what a storm can do. But the majority of the time when storms come in from the south, in the summer and in early fall, they're going to go north because that's what hurricanes do. They're drawn poleward. So they would far more likely go into the Panhandle if everything else was equal. But as you get more into October and potentially November, watch what happens. You still see development, but look where most of the development is. Now you're looking in October up till Halloween, there's still some development out in the Eastern Atlantic. I'm sorry, in the Eastern Caribbean. But there's more in the Gulf and in the Caribbean, right? So when you look at the second week or the first week in November, you don't see the development out in the area historically that the GFS is trying to spin. What you do see is development right here. And that is an area that we would be far more inclined to say is likely for development, because what's going to happen from a storm developing in this area? Well, most of the time, they're going to go one of two directions, due west or they're going to go north. Now, if there was no cold front or troughs coming in, it would go to the Panhandle. But the majority of the time, this time of the year, we will eventually feel a trough and it will go to Florida, whether it's South Florida, whether it's our area, or whether it's the Panhandle. But that is by far the most likely track of a system in early November. All right? So you look at the second week in November. And again, you don't see any development in the Eastern Caribbean. If anything were to develop, it would be in the Western Caribbean. And there's usually not a lot. Now, could you argue that the warming of the waters out there could have an impact in making the season last longer? In other words, what might be normal for the end of October might now be normal for mid-November because the water's warmer? You can make that argument. And I think that's a valid argument, to be honest. If the waters are warmer now than they were historically over the last 30, 40, 50, 100 years, you could say the waters might be equivalent in mid-November to what it used to be like at the end of October. That is a fair conversation, regardless of your feelings about climate change. The waters have warmed, period. The waters have warmed. Now, if you want to draw a conclusion on what that means 50 years down the road, that's something that I think is very debatable. But there is no debate that the waters are warmer right now than they were in previous times. So all I'll do is take that data, that current forecast, that current nowcast, if you will, and say, well, if the waters now are as warm right now than they usually were in early October, and if the waters in mid-November are as warm right now as they historically have been at the end of October, then you could make a valid argument that those areas might see a comparable development to what happened during those calendar years. All right? So that's kind of my take. So, just because we're seeing something in mid-November that's appeared to be very, very quiet doesn't necessarily mean. You could make the argument that maybe you need to look at the second or third week in October and compare the water temperatures historically, what it is there to what it is now. You get what I'm saying. So when you look at the GFS, which shows a down the road, and again, this is not anything to worry about whatsoever, all right? This is just the GFS being the GFS. But the reason I'm showing it is because it's a weather chat, so why not, right? So when you see a storm coming in from the Caribbean, you're saying, wait a minute, early November, that seems unlikely, right? I would say that. But if the conditions in early November would equate to conditions in the second week in October historically, then maybe it's a possibility. Anyway, the GFS takes this thing and turns it into a pretty much a Cat 4 hurricane. And I laugh because, you know, it's not likely. It's not impossible, but it's not likely. Let's go back. Let's go back and I'll pause it for you so you can see it again. So again, this is the GFS. You see the development in the Eastern Atlantic, Eastern Caribbean rather, starts to develop, goes west, goes into Western Cuba, and then turns into a 942 millibar Cat 4 hurricane. And it actually curves pretty hard and goes in South Florida. Doesn't matter. It's not, I don't want to say it's not going to happen. The overwhelming odds are that it's not going to happen. But my take is, with the Climate Prediction Center definitely saying that the pressures should be lower for the first couple of weeks in November, then to me, it raises the possibility that something could develop. Might be a nothing, might be a wave, whatever. But my point is, I don't think the season's over. I would not be the least bit surprised if we do get one more developing system sometime in the first half of November in the Caribbean. I mentioned this briefly on TV tonight, and my boss, because she doesn't come back. Usually, you know how it works. When the bosses come back, it's usually because you've done something wrong. So I'm back behind the studio here, and all of a sudden, 30 seconds after I'm on the air, I hear it click, 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 click. I hear her high heels, or her heels. I'm like, oh, man, what did I do wrong? And she walks in, and she's like, what? What? Because she has travel plans coming up in November. And I'm like, no, it's the GFS. I will tell you again that I would not be the least bit surprised if we see a developing system in the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean or Northern Caribbean in the first 2 weeks of November. I would not be surprised at all. Matter of fact, I kind of think we will. Do I think it's going to be anything close to what the GFS has? No. But is it possible? Sure. It's possible. The water's still very warm in the Caribbean. Now, the water is not warm in the Atlantic, or in the Gulf, rather, but it is very warm in the Caribbean. So, okay. The euro does not go that far out. So I do not have the euro on that. But I guarantee you the euro will not show that. I would bet my bottom dollar the euro does not show that. What it does show is we do have the 540 line digging into the plains in the Midwest. Sean, if you are here, I've not been looking at comments. Mike, you bring up a good point. I even said that to LSG, Lawrence St. Germain. I'm like, maybe I don't put up my Christmas decorations until the second week of November because of the possibility of something. So that thought did indeed cross my mind. I haven't decided. I mean, I don't light them until right after Thanksgiving anyway. You guys know my affinity for Christmas decorations, and I've just been buying more. I just can't help myself. It's an obsession. But I went to Sam's last night, and I bought this triple ornament that they have these little ornaments that spin in the middle. And then I bought a matching present one with a snowflake. Anyway, there's no room. I've literally had my stuff expanding 2 houses down from mine because I don't have enough room, because I don't have a very big yard. My front yard's not big. So I just kind of expand it out for everybody. I did not hear about superfog, Adam, but I'm very familiar with what superfog is because we had that back in the day here 15 years ago, a really bad superfog on I-4, caused a 40-car pileup in Polk County. So, all right. So anyway, my point is about the decorations is, yeah, maybe I would wait. But I decorate because it takes a couple of weeks for them to actually be put up, but I don't light them. Our neighborhood does an official lighting the Saturday after Christmas, and we kind of have a block party around my house. And it's, a bunch of people, and we light stuff up then. All right, so, Jorge is like, the NHC issues a decor watch second week in November. You might be right. You might be right. So, Peggy, tell me where your neighborhood is, but I'm telling you, I've not seen it, but I would be willing to bet our neighborhood goes all out even more. It's just nuts. I love it. That's why I never want to leave, because I do love the Christmas decorations. All right, so anyway, that's where we are. If anything were to gradually develop, it would be the first 10 days of November. I don't think it will. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. But I had to show it to you because it certainly does catch your attention. And I'm sure the next run it will be completely gone. What I do think is going to happen, as you see here, is the 540 line is going to come down, and we are going to have a front that is going to come our way toward the end of next week, and that front will bring us some cooler air toward the end of next week. And I'm calling up the Euro right now, if I can. I've been having trouble getting it. Let me look on Tropical Tidbits. Levi's site is a great site. I have the app actually on my phone as well. But see, the Euro only goes out 10 days, so it's not going to, at least on this, so it's not going to really show me anything. And it doesn't. Yeah, it just brings the front through. Pretty decent front toward the end of next week. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because I think that's worth noting for the folks who want to know. Yeah, there are a few quick showers out there. All right, so there's the drought index, no better. It's the exact same as it's been. We are very dry. We all know that. Easterly flow, that's where those showers are popping up. And again, this is the stuff that caused it to rain 29 years ago on Halloween, an easterly flow. This is when I was not nearly as sensitive to what an easterly flow can do in terms of showers. They don't last long, but it doesn't take long for your makeup to wash off your face in the shower or your candy to get wet. And right now, there are a few showers, as you can see right now, in Polk and Highlands County. By the way, I am rooting for the Diamondbacks tonight. I do think the Phils will win, but I would love to see, and it's not against Philadelphia, because I actually think that's a fun team. That team is very entertaining. I would just like to see Evan Longoria make it to the series again. I mean, being a Rays fan and having an affinity for Longo, I would love to see him given a chance. I just don't think it's going to happen, though. I really think the Phils win that game. Temperatures in the upper 70s right now. There's your dew points. Dew points are rising. A little more humidity, a little more moisture to the air. The winds have been gusting most of today, 20 to 25 to 30 miles an hour. Winds will gust again tomorrow as well. Thursday, the same thing as well. Today, we hit 90 in Sarasota, mid to upper 80s elsewhere. Forecasts tomorrow and Thursday are identical. Same, exact same forecast Wednesday and again on Thursday. There could be a few more inland showers trying to pop up, as you can kind of see that easterly flow. See it coming in from the East Coast and then moving across? See, the radar beam is looking up at the rain, right? It doesn't look at the surface. It looks up, so it sees rain. But when the air is dry, that rain falls into the drier air and evaporates. So it looks like it's raining. Up top it is, but not at the surface. It's called virga. That is your weather term of the day. So, futurecast overnight, partly cloudy. Tomorrow, a day just like today. Highs in the upper 80s. A few sprinkles in inland areas. Same thing on Thursday. Same thing right on into the weekend. A very persistent easterly flow. Temperatures tomorrow, we start mostly in the mid-60s. We end in the upper 80s. Thursday, we start in the mid-60s. We end in the upper 80s. Friday, we start in the mid-60s. We end in the upper 80s. Through the weekend, same thing. And there you see the temperatures drop Wednesday, November 1st, behind the front that should come through. No severe weather out of it, and rain chances remain near zero right through the period, except for sprinkles. If you're watching on our streaming app, thanks for stopping by. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm going to continue for a couple of minutes on Facebook. Have a good night. All right. So, let's continue. There again we have Tammy, we have what's left of Tropical Depression 21, and you see nothing going on in the Caribbean. It is completely convection free. We'll see how it plays out over the next couple of weeks. Would not be surprised at all if we see a little something try to develop. No, Adam, I don't. That was a really pathetic effort by Penn State against Ohio State. Pathetic. Their quarterback's a young kid. I don't think they game planned him well. I really think it's on the coaching. I do. Their defense played lights out, should have won that game defensively, but their offense could do nothing. And I blame the coaching staff on that. I do. I mean, the fact that James Franklin is 0-10 against top 10 teams on the road in his tenure, the fact that he's 3-17 against top 10 teams overall, they have not been the coaching staff that can rise to the occasion for big games. So, yeah, I do think their quarterback is a lot better than he showed. And I think it was coaching. But do I think they fire him? No, because who else do you get, you know? And who else do you get? It's not like when the Bucs were trying to get more offense and they hired John Gruden when they let go of Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was great with defenses, but kind of conservative with offense, if you remember. They brought in Gruden, he opened it up, and they won a Super Bowl. I just don't think you have that. I do not think Inverness will get any rain, Nancy. I do not. Gusty winds tomorrow out of the east, 15 to 20 knots. There are your tides. The beach looks great tomorrow. Water temperature mid-70s. So again, it's 80s in the Caribbean, but it's 70s in the Gulf. And there's the 7-day. Temperatures mid to upper 80s. Halloween, I do think there's a chance of a couple of showers. Widespread, no, but I think there will be a few showers. Okay, so I have not even been looking at questions. I should have been. I've been remiss. But Stephanie in Palm Harbor, how are you doing? Good to see you. So, does anybody have any questions? Because I would be happy. What is the forecast in Buffalo on Thursday? Oh, my heavens. I have no idea. I have not even looked. Let's see. I didn't even call it up either. Adam, let me look at the Foose data. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Probably some rain, some showers. Some showers, looks like. 37% pop. Temperatures around 80 degrees. Around 70 degrees. Okay. Oh, the Bucs are playing Thursday night. I gotcha, Bridget. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, good call. Low 70s, could be a few showers. Boy, how about the Bills? Holy cow. What has happened to them? Everybody, myself included, expected them to be just, a juggernaut, and they've just been terrible. Their offense has been awful, and that's crazy. Would never have expected that. The Patriots, who are playing horrible. Now, granted, Belichick is usually good at shutting down one aspect of a team, but man, I was just floored by that. Okay, it is not a tropical storm, Jonathan. It was just a depression. No big deal. Yep, very windy with that easterly flow, Deborah. Easterly flow has been so strong, the winds out of the east have pushed the sea breeze offshore. So you go 5 miles offshore, you'll be quite a bit cooler. But our coastal areas will be warmest because as the air travels over the warmer land, it heats up. So it heats up until it hits the Gulf of Mexico. So our coastal areas will be warm. Yeah, Lisa, that was a nice win. Kirk Cousins usually is a bum when it comes to big games, like nationally televised games. He usually has horrible games, but he was awesome last night. Almost threw for 400 yards. Really, really looked good. And boy, Addison looked good too, without Justin Jefferson. So, Anthony, we have so many decorations. We started November 1st. It takes a couple of weeks. So I think it'll be cooler outside. I do think it'll be cooler the first couple of days, Anthony, but probably not. Probably not any cooler. It'll warm back up again. I mean, you know, the first couple of weeks of November, it really, I think, we're going to have seasonal temperatures in the 80s, and then we'll see if anything pops in the Caribbean. Yeah, I don't know about that, Adam. I just think that was, I mean, they didn't have Debo, so they had no Debo Samuel, and Purdy looked human. McCaffrey looked great. My daughter, Ryan beat me by 4/100ths of a point in our fantasy game. I was in first place, dominant team, and Ryan came up. She was actually in second place. Ryan's in second place. And she beat me like 120. What was the final score? It was when McCaffrey got 9 yards on his last carry, and that was it. It was done. If he had 8, she would have lost. He got 9 and she won. It was that close. It was like, literally 4/100ths of a point was the final score. It was, she won 120.70 to 120.66. So yes, she did. She was victorious. Couldn't believe it. McCaffrey, you know, she's got McCaffrey. So anything else? Okay, Nancy's asking about a wet, cooler winter. I'm with you, Mark. I'm rooting for Longo. I'm hoping that Longo can make it to the series. I don't have any wishes for Christmas, B-dubs. I just want to be able to find a way to get what my kids are looking for. And with 6 kids, that ain't easy. El Nino historic, you know what? I got a graphic for you. I'll show you. I've shown you this graphic before, but you asked about the winter, and it is relevant. So when, you know, you often hear about El Niños impacting the hurricane season, and they do. They create, historically, a hostile environment for development, and yet we have made it to coming up on the V storm, right? So the big question mark was going to be, which impact is stronger? The impacts of El Nino and impacting the upper level winds, or the warm water of the ocean? Clearly, the warm water was victorious, because we have already to Tammy, and we're getting to, potentially, we could go to Vince. Caroline's asking about November 6th to 11th. I mean, if you've been watching this hit, there is potential for Caribbean development at that point. The models aren't really showing a lot, but as we showed you, if you look right here, the top graphic is November 1 to November 7, and there is potential for development both weeks. Historically, that's an area that we'll watch, and especially because the waters is warm. But we were talking about El Nino. So El Nino is just a body of warm water off the coast of South America and the Pacific. And as that warm water elongates, it can create a pretty large change in upper level winds. And in the U.S., as you see right here, the southern branch of the jet stream, the Pineapple Express, the subtropical jet, is energized by this El Nino event. And when it happens, this is usually what you see in the winter. Cooler, I'm not necessarily sold on, but wetter, I am, because the subtropical jet gets more active. And as we had a couple of weeks ago, it is also common for us to see more tornadoes when a front comes through. Usually in an El Nino situation is when we see our uptick in tornadoes, like we had a couple of weeks ago. So that's something to kind of remember. So, because of Tammy, I guess, Donna, it's kind of surprising. It didn't really get that close, but I guess maybe it's going to be a little bit rough out there. So yeah, Caroline, again, I'm not seeing anything from the models during that stretch other than the GFS, which brings a Cat 4 hurricane there. But how many times have I shown everybody this season and many seasons in the past that the GFS after 6 or 7 days is just nonsense? Most models are nonsense that far out. All right? So I guess that's about it, guys. I'm going to go watch the baseball game. Go Diamondbacks. Just, again, because I like the Phils. I like the team. They're a fun team to watch. I'm so glad the Rangers won. But I would love to see Evan Longoria make it to the series and get a ring. I would love that. But I think the Phils win tonight. I think they do. So that's it, guys. Have a great night. Renee, how are you? Good to see you. And yeah, they are going to be a little rough in the Bahamas, Adam. Definitely, as Tammy stays to the east and does try to come to the west a little bit. So you guys have a great night, and I will see you on Thursday night's edition of Denis Phillips Live. See you guys.
Our southern weather is unpredictable.
We know you've seen a thing or two.
Like heavy rainstorms.
Extreme heat and flying debris.
Your New South windows are custom built for your home and designed for extreme conditions.
That's why you need New South by your side.
Enjoy comfort.
Safety and security.
We install peace of mind with our lifetime guarantee. Superior Windows, factory direct.
New South proud.
Buy more, save more. Volume discounts on 4 or more windows.